G'day, great to have your company for a massive episode of Rugby Heaven on your home of rugby, Stan Sport. What a lineup we've got for it. The hand of Goog himself, Justin Harrison, and Mr. Two-Time Tim Horan has returned to Rugby Heaven. Timmy, great to see you back, mate, and there's plenty to talk about this week.
Yeah, nice to be back, Atko. Of course, when we lead up to Queensland, New South Wales, always a special week, and it's had so much history in it, and can't wait for that match on Saturday night in Brisbane.
There's been plenty going on in the world of rugby. We're going to dive into all of it, Justin.
Yeah, Six Nations, how good.
Oh, what a competition
how
that is.
How good is that going to be, to watch that? It's probably one of the first times I'm keen to watch back-to-back Six Nations games and just park up on the couch.
Yeah, massive weekend with that to come. Of course, we've got Super Rugby Pacific. We're going to preview a huge round 5 in that competition. And there's plenty of games to sink your teeth into this weekend. We're going to hear from Zac Lomax, the big news this week, that the former rugby league star has signed with the 15-man code. He'll be joining the Western Force. And, of course, the deciding weekend in the Six Nations, it all comes down to this, the last weekend of action, and it is still a title up for grabs. 3 nations, still a chance of taking home that incredible title. But, of course, Super Rugby Pacific Round 5 is headlined by the oldest rivalry in rugby here in Australia. It's Queensland hosting New South Wales.
The Reds up against the Waratahs.
Yeah, it's a big rivalry.
Battle of the States, State of Origin, New South Wales versus Queensland.
When you pull on the Reds jersey, you represent everyone in Queensland.
We're very proud New South Welshmen.
I'd do anything for this jersey.
And that rivalry is definitely, fierce.
I think there's just genuine hate between the two states.
It's a rivalry that's been there for so many years now.
As a fan, it's what you want to watch.
Queensland and New South Wales going at it.
It's something that's been, I guess, ingrained in you when you come in to Ballymore, is that the Tars game is always such a special one to get up for.
You look back 30 years ago and it was always still a massive rivalry.
You lean on past players' experiences and what they've been through.
Yeah, everyone putting on big shots. Back in the day, there was a lot more fights than there is nowadays.
There's a big punches thrown.
The Crofty, Worry video that always pops up when we're about to play the Tars and they're just bloodied as number 7s and they're at each other.
You two cut the crap, just play football.
As a kid, you watch the games, the Super Rugby games against the Reds and the Waratahs, and you've always wanted the Waratahs to get on top.
Scores! And it's a try!
There's something about playing the Tars in your own backyard. The rivalry makes people come to the games. That brings the energy. When you can feel that in the crowd and you have a little look around, you can feel the vibe coming through.
We're going to go after them and they're going to go after us.
It's very intense, physical. You've got to perform for 80 minutes because if you don't, you're going to get found out. It's always going to be a tough battle and they're always close and you always want to get one over your closest rivals.
Jorgensen into the Tars.
It's always a big one.
Spectacular from the Reds.
You just want to go out there and bash them for the brothers next to you and just do anything you can to win the game.
Yeah, it's a rivalry that means so much, and I think it means a lot more than competition points. 4 points or, 5 points with a bonus point. That's almost like, I don't know, the second storyline just in as opposed to the bragging rights that are on offer.
Well, I think if you look what happened in round 1 where the Waratahs belted the Queensland Reds and it was a big shock to, Les Kiss, but also the team. They're quite disappointed by that. So, and then you get a chance to get back on the horse in round 5. So the Queensland Reds will be pretty keen after never in doubt last weekend against the Brumbies.
Never in doubt at all. There's been some iconic moments and we heard some of the current players talking about some of those, the ones they remember. I'm really interested to dive into your own memory banks here and look at some of your favourite, maybe not the number one favourite, but some of your favourite moments. I'll kick things off while you think about it. Mine, and it was hard to choose, but I couldn't go past 2012, round 1. The Reds, the reigning champions in Super Rugby. They were going to lose this game in Sydney against New South Wales, and Ship Senedy, Dom Shipley, scores this incredible 70-metre try at the death to steal victory from the jaws of defeat. You remember that game? Yeah. New South Wales had the ball and kicked it away. And it was off that turnover that Queensland scored.
It was funny to see. Rob Simmons was the first player to hug him, the second rower who got there. And then
he must have been caught downfield.
Then there was no one else. He might have been injured.
We're still waiting for the kickoff.
What about you, Timmy? One that stands out?
I think we had some great battles over a long period of time, and it's 30 years now, of course, of Super Rugby, and back prior to that, it was only ever Queensland, New South Wales, and if you played better than your opposite number, you'd get selected for the Wallabies. That's changed a lot over the last 30 years with the different teams that have come in. But, I think my battles with Nathan Gray, old bull versus young bull, always... I remember they put this up like a boxing bout sort of thing. I think it might have been the Sydney Morning Herald or the paper the day before, and we looked at that. It's not something you put on the dressing room wall, but I think we might have won with a KO later in that game. We played pretty well. That might have been 99 or 2000, I can't remember. But great matches where, you're playing with the likes of Todai Kefu and players, Daniel Herbert. And for us, then that was a massive performance from us to be able to win that game. And, I think then you go on, whether it's Rugby World Cup and stuff, but it's pretty important whenever you're playing New South Wales.
What a pass, Timmy. We've run these highlights on Rugby Heaven a few times, Goog, and unsurprisingly, it's the week that Tim Horan's on. There's some flashiness in there. It's obviously a big 15-point win, that one, but there's been a lot of grit and, there's been a lot of feeling in some of these clashes.
Yeah, I think that's what the storyline ultimately comes down to, right? You get to see a representation of passion. The fan gets to see what it means for a player to wear the jersey, and you join that spectator to on the field. And there's two blokes that I remember in 2000, Phil Waugh and Crofty, David Croft. It's just the epitome of what it is to go over and above, to put your head in dark places, genuine venom against each other off the field, probably reluctant roommates, let's be frank. The thing about these games, there was such an intensity about them. There were Wallaby selections on the line, absolutely, and it was a concentration of Wallabies that were on the field as well. It's a little bit spread out now, but those games were test match intensity. And those two humans come off the field looking like salt licks.
Yeah.
Like their heads had more lumps on them than a cube of sugar. It was just unbelievable to see the intensity and play above their weight. They weren't big humans. They're strong and powerful and passionate. And that's all you need when you're playing interstate rivalry.
They're trying to get about 25,000, I think, at Suncorp Stadium on Saturday night to get a bumper crowd up there.
Yeah, they had 20,000 last year to Queensland versus New South Wales at Suncorp Stadium. So they've been really pushing the tickets this week. Plenty of rivalry. That was a great one in the 2000s, as you say, Goog. Phil Waugh versus Davis Croft. That was, worth the price of admission. Sit back with your popcorn and enjoy that.
We called Crofty tempura because he was a tempura prawn. He was just a bit better than a prawn, so tempura prawn. He still had to rip their head off.
Yeah, he had a decent body, didn't he?
And Warrior was an orc from Middle Earth.
And the current CEO of Rugby Australia
You're welcome.
He would love being referred to yet again as the orc. He loves it when that comes up. But the modern day instalment, this weekend, we're going to see an absolute doozy at Suncorp Stadium. I'll start with focus on the Queensland Reds. Carter Gordon scores the match winner on the weekend down in Canberra against the Brumbies after full time. His second game now in the saddle for the Queensland Reds. He'll steer the ship around on the weekend to come. What are you making of him in a Queensland jersey this season, Tim?
Yeah, I thought he was really good in the second half this match in Canberra last weekend. Not just because of this try, but he had 2 or 3 carries where he had to go straight up the middle and actually take contact, and then he made 2 or 3 really important tackles as well in that second half when the Brumbies were actually pressing against the Reds try line. So better for the run for him as well. I think they're understanding now. We did a bit of a chat prior to the game about the width of the pass that Carter Gordon has got, and players outside of him like Jock Campbell, when Jock Campbell made the break right at the end of the game, understand their width they have to be, because he's got such a long pass at the moment, Carter Gordon, playing some good footy.
A couple of other changes Les Kiss has made. Tim Ryan comes back into the 15. Lockie Anderson's injured. Timmy Ryan was rested last week, and Sarah Uru has been elevated to the starting side. He'll play at lock. There's a wonderful head-to-head in the forward pack this week. The 2 number 7s, Fraser McWright, the Queensland captain, going up against Charlie Gamble from New South Wales, who's been in outstanding form himself. There's always a good clash, no matter who the Australian sides are, generally in the 2 number 7s. This is a great pick this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing Australia definitely consistently produces is outstanding open side flankers, and seemingly in the same era to match up against each other. We know the effect that Fraser McWright has on this team and the link player that he has become. Smart, mature, he gets the best out of players around him. He's the perfect leadership model for this Reds team. Charlie Gamble, we've seen mature into his skin. He's come over, found his journey from club sub rugby level up to now professional, and he's producing consistently on the field, definitely leading that team, who are going to Brisbane searching for him. They're in the house of doubt, right? They're going up there and they are definitely looking at the man in the mirror thinking, what am I going to produce here and how am I going to climb out of what we seem to be doing is getting into some quicksand.
And then you look at Dan McKellar, the coach, he's 8 changes to the starting 15. So he's moved players around. 6, is it?
6 changes to the starting 15.
But he's not sure of what's his best team at the moment. After that big loss against the Hurricanes, that stung not only Dan McKellar but the players as well. So you look at Sid Harvey's come back in. He's going to get his first start. Tristan Riley, I think, at 13 is going to be a good option. I think that's a really good call. At number 13. He's a big body. He's played a little bit of that at club footy at Randwick, so I like it. Defensively, it's going to be that's the challenge. That's the challenge.
It's a big step up though, even if you've played that position at Shute Shield, to play that position.
Yeah, look, Tristan Riley's an outstanding football player and an outstanding athlete. One of the things that the Waratahs battled with on the weekend against the Canes was connection in defence. Now you put a winger in at 13. Your biggest concern is going to be defensive connection. So that's going to be a real consideration, and what he does with ball manufacture. So he's going to want to beat people on the outside. He's going to want to use pace. 13's a different position. You're going to have to attract defenders and create space. Very different mindset. Absolutely able to do it athletically. His challenge is going to be onboarding what it is to be a professional 13.
Yeah, it's a big step up. As you say, doing that at club level to Super Rugby Pacific level, a lot more to take in. Speaking of stepping up, Sid Harvey, who Timmy referenced before, Goog, he was quite impressive off the bench. Yes, in a well-beaten side, but for a young bloke who was making his debut in Super Rugby Pacific, he looked quite assured off the bench. He's going to start this week.
It's a great example if you want to go back and watch this game. Coaches often talk about, and athletes talk about, just narrowing the focus and doing the basics really well. And when you get an opportunity, 1 or 100, make sure that the first one you get is as good as the last one. Now, Sid Harvey had very limited opportunity to get involved in the game, and in fact, the ball came to him and he was repairing or he was exiting, this sort of long kick. He executed those basic skills very, very well, and that's what you want to do. You give assurance to a professional coach and an environment and your teammates that you can do it under pressure. He was under pressure, he executed well, and now he gets the starting jersey on the back of it. That's how quickly it can happen.
Be interesting to see whether he gets the goal-kicking duties. As a 19-year-old, massive game, your first start, up against the Queensland Reds, do you get the goal-kicking duties? Does Dan McKellar say, listen, you're all in? He's got some skill, got some talent, just needs a little bit more time, and Dan McKellar's going to give you that to him.
We did kick 1 goal on the weekend when he came off the bench, and at that stage, Jack Debrasini was on the field already, and he's going to start at 10. So I reckon there's probably a good chance Sid Harvey does take on that responsibility of goal kicking.
Romanian leg wrestling happening at training.
You reckon so? Just to decide it.
Paper, scissors, rock, or leg wrestling.
I would like to move this desk and see the two of you.
Bit of Guyana belt wrestling, all that stuff.
We've got a bit of a dojo here, in the studio. It's a circle. Maybe an after-hours special of Rugby Heaven. Look, speaking of specials, can I get a tip from the two of you for this game?
Well, round 1, I actually picked the Waratahs because I thought they were
everyone
really good
in Queensland
off-season.
Has been up in arms about it, Timmy,
I think this weekend the Reds will be too strong. Only just, though. I like the young team that Dan McKellar selected, but I'm going to go the Reds just.
Just the weight of changes and the uncertainty. Absolutely very competitive match, but the Reds will bring it home.
Yeah, it's going to be a cracker. Whichever way it does go, you'll be able to catch that incredible matchup between Queensland and New South Wales exclusively on Stan Sport. So make sure you sign up and you won't miss a moment of the action in Super Rugby Pacific. That's Saturday night from 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. Of course, this weekend, the Brumbies will be taking on Fijian Drua over in Fiji. We're going to preview that match coming up as Rob Valetini gets set to raise the bat.
Force fan across the park and they're getting in. He's stopping and going and scoring. Oh, cream by Valetini. They're going to keep it tight here. Valetini! Power! Valetini again. Valetini round the corner. Oh my goodness. How strong is Bobby V?
All of them lining up, and it's Valetini under the posts to seal the deal for the Brumbies.
No matter the jersey he's wearing, Rob Valetini is an absolute superstar of our game. Brings up 100 matches in Super Rugby Pacific this weekend for the Brumbies, and he gets to do it in Fiji, Timmy, which is a really nice opportunity. Obviously, very proud of his Fijian heritage too.
Yeah, I was talking to Stephen Larkham last weekend, and he said he requested to have his 100th in Fiji. We thought he would have played against the Queensland Reds last week, had the weekend off to Fiji, and then come back for a home game in Canberra. But his family, his brother plays for Fijian Drua as well. So a special time for Rob Valetini. Over the last 4, maybe 5 years, Goog, he's been one of the 2 top players in Australian rugby, and big fan base for him now as well. He's been the foundation for this Brumbies team for the go forward and break that defensive line.
Brumbies obviously have started the season incredibly strongly, Justin. So often he's a part of that. What have you made of Rob Valetini in the opening few weeks?
Well, the thing about Rob Valetini is he's not only a repairman for the team, but he's also a go-forward creating general play for the Brumbies. The thing about the Brumbies is so often it's around design and finesse and structure and strategy, but sometimes you just need old school muscle and aggression and size. And Rob Valetini, once you start him, he just does not stop. He's like when you go down to one of those industrial clothes washing places, right? You get the big dryer and you think, right, I'm going to load up.
When's the last time you've gone down there?
Well, a couple of years ago. You're going to throw everything in, right? Doona, the whole lot, probably a couple of boots as well, and you start it and you realise it's not balanced. You try and get back in there. You can't open it. You're not allowed to stop it, but it's just going around. Bang, bang.
It just keeps going.
Bang. It just keeps going. And that is Rob Valetini. Thank you very much. That is him. He just does not stop. He's the highest work rate back rower in the competition, and it's not finesse and poster shot moments. He is taking on the line hard and strong every time. Just like... You're back there, aren't you, at uni days? 20 cents in the thing.
I'm not disputing your assessment of Rob Valetini because you spot on.
It's an unbalanced load and it's just going whack.
I'm not disputing that, okay?
Whack.
Rob Valetini is incredible and he is a workhorse and he balances out. But I am very worried, and I'm never letting you do my washing if you're putting boots in with a doona.
Why not?
In the same
It's been a long time since he's done it. 20 cents was probably 40 years ago.
Well, he is, though. He's boots with the doona.
You are a man of many talents, and analogies is one of those talents. But a huge challenge for the Brumbies going over to Fiji this week. We know it's a tough place to travel to. We know Stephen Larkham's made a lot of changes to his team, which can be tricky. Going to Bar and the stadium.
Yeah.
The Bar or Bar?
Bar,
yes.
Yeah.
So it's...
This was a week ago.
It is 4R Stadium in Bar. This was a week ago. The stadium flooded. So there was a question mark whether this game even gets up. Thankfully,
they were going to change it, but they had to make the call. I think it was Saturday last week, and the floodwaters were still over the field. So... but great opportunity for people in the district to get to the game. And I think for Rob Valetini, that's really special for him and his family as well. And but also you look at Edmed starts for the first time at 10. So Declan Meredith has been really good in those first 4 rounds. But Stephen Larkham goes, OK, Tane Edmed, your turn to try and steer the ship around for the Brumbies. It's important for Tane Edmed. We all thought he would start at 10 straight away win the Brumbies season, but Declan Meredith's been really strong. It's
a big opportunity for Edmed, isn't it, Justin? Because as Tim points out, going to Canberra, a lot of the external expectation was he's a Wallaby, he's the incumbent Wallaby 10, he'd start in Canberra. Declan Meredith got the first chance and has absolutely taken it with 2 hands. So this is Tane's chance to really show what he's got.
But I think it shows the competitiveness of that squad that Stephen Larkham is provoking. He's again... If you look through the history of rugby and the Brumbies program and players like Tane Edmed, they either come to the Brumbies program because they've lost a bit of form or they've been recruited and they want to prove a point, and they get better. They come into the program and they get better. All of that squad have no right to be playing as well as they are, the younger players that are coming in, but they are. And Tane Edmed is a great example now. He gets to come in under some adversity. He will be absolutely hating the way that match finished last week, and he cannot get on the field quick enough. It is the perfect time to say, you know what, I'm going to accelerate that. I'm going to start you. I'm going to back you. You will get a disciple for life. You will get something special out of Tane, and that is the skill of a coach that knows how to embrace people and show empathy and also put them in a team that is performing well.
And he would have watched that tackle at the end, as you mentioned, Cook, against Carter Gordon, because he raced up too quick and Gordon went round the outside. I reckon he's watched that 5 or 6 times with Stephen Larkham and adjusted where he defends. But He's a wonderful player, and he fits into the system, and Stephen Larkham's given him time to understand the systems of how the Brumbies work.
Well, hopefully he hasn't watched it too many times and he's parked it and he's moved on and he's focusing on what's ahead. Extreme heat conditions expected.
I might get the zinc cream out.
In Bar this weekend, so they've already stated that it'll be a 20-minute half-time. They'll have 20-minute drinks breaks.
It's hotter than a solar flare in Fiji. In the middle of the afternoon, gee, it's hot.
Yeah.
It is hot.
Good. Another one on the analogy list from Justin Harrison. There's going to be plenty of heat at the breakdown too, because Luke Reimer gets his chance to start at number 7 for the Brumbies. I imagine he's been sitting behind Rory Scott on the bench and just steaming to get his chance to start a game.
Oh, it's a great option that Stephen Larkham's got. He's got so many players in the back row and that can fit in, and Luke Reimer's one of the best, and so is Rory Scott. So this is a game that Stephen Larkham would have looked at when the draw came out. This is what I've got to do. I've got to change it up. By the time we get to round 5, I need to give, if there's no injuries, I need to give these players who train with us week in, week out, lead to give them a start.
Luke Reimer could suffer from being so good off the bench that he only ever gets a chance to come off the bench. Great opportunity to start, but he's outstanding off the bench, so that might actually count against him. And I wonder if a coach can look past that when you're thinking about gold jerseys and makeups of squad.
Yeah, the Drua are going to be a dangerous prospect for the Brumbies though, because we know how hard it is and how much teams struggle travelling to Fiji. They're coming off a bye, so they're fresh. And their last match before that, Justin, was a very impressive upset win over the Hurricanes. So the Brumbies can win in Fiji. They did it last year. They're the first and only Australian team to do so. But it's going to take another incredible effort because the Drua are a dangerous side at home.
Yeah, every single player is a try-scoring machine. They can step you in a phone booth. The props are as quick as the outside backs. It's just outstanding the way that they can manufacture points and create things from seemingly nowhere. Fiji Drua challenges always structure and set-piece authority. So that if they can get that in the game in some adverse conditions, they're a long way to being ahead of the Brumbies.
Who wins this one, Tim?
I'm going to say the Brumbies. I think there's some players in that Brumbies team that Stephen Larkham's given a chance to start and they'll want to perform for the coach.
Yeah, Brumbies just. Just.
Brumbies, is that what you said?
By a low tide carver bowl.
Outstanding yet again, Justin Harrison. 2 tips for the Brumbies to win on the road, claim their second victory over the Drua in Fiji. That is going to be an absolute doozy. You catch it all on Stan Sport. And coming up, we're going to preview the Western Force, who are still in New Zealand. They'll be taking on the Hurricanes. Last week, they scored an absolute worldie.
Cuts inside, guesses them, Ben Donaldson. It's Hamish Stewart, and he's in. Oh, what play from the Force. Catching the Highlanders, turning them round and turning them inside out.
And Stewart is starting to come into his own.
Absolutely special that try was. Western Force scoring through Hamish Stewart. They've seen some outstanding 5-pointers across the competition in the first month of Super Rugby Pacific, but the Force are going to need to be able to replicate a few more of those moments this weekend. Justin, they're taking on the Hurricanes, who were really impressive against the Waratahs in round 4. Kurtley Beale starts at 12 for the Force. Big injection of experience in the back line.
Big injection of experience. Experience is just an anecdote. You need to perform and you need to put some glue into that back line. Desperately unlucky, to not win last week. But you do need to make your own luck. Those cliches, absolutely. People like Kurtley Beale that come into the engine room of a back line can make the luck for that back line, and really excited to look at what he does around the edges, both sides of the ball, off the ball. Kurtley Beale, what he needs to do is probably contribute far more off the ball than he's ever done before, and not just let his actions speak for themselves. He's going to guide that team through. Max Bury's going to benefit hugely as well from that.
Max Bury gets a chance to start. He'll be in the 15 jersey. On the other side of the equation, Tim, the Hurricanes bringing back a real superstar in Ruben Love, who will come off the bench because Callum Harkin at 10 has been really impressive as well.
Yeah, I think we all spoke about who's the top 2 or 3 teams to potentially win this Super Rugby Pacific competition, and the Hurricanes were up there, the top 1 or 2. So they performed that and showed last week against the Waratahs how good a team they are. And they could have put 70 on the Waratahs at one stage. So yeah, Ruben Love, good to see him coming off the bench, and I think just the way that he can deliver, Ruben Love. We saw last year how good he was, and of course played for the All Blacks, and He can play 15, can play 10, so such a talented player. So looking forward to seeing him. And also then you look at Brad Shields playing his 100th Super Rugby game. That's important for Brad Shields. He's been around for a long time.
That's pretty impressive considering he spent a good chunk of his career in England.
Yeah, totally.
We know he was capped for England internationally. He played in the English Premiership for quite a number of years and
Probably would have played 150 Super Rugby games if he stayed.
He's still racking up 100 Super Rugby appearances. So congratulations to Brad Shields. Quick tip, Hurricanes and Force.
Well, you'd think on the road for the Force you got continuity going, even though you just lost last week. But the Hurricanes, their performance last week, outstanding. So the Canes.
Quick tip. Thanks, Tim.
Yep.
Canes, ding, ding. There we go, just one off the feature there. Another game on the weekend, the Crusaders host the Highlanders and looking for a bit of retribution, Justin, after that round one loss to the Highlanders down in Dunedin. Cody Taylor and Will Jordan returning after missing round 4. That makes the Crusaders very fearsome.
Yeah, it gives them venom. It gives them some real venom and impetus and new energy, new voice, although a regular and familiar voice, a new voice for this turnaround match, you know. And Crusaders, this is about right, round 4, round 5, round 6, they start to sort of wake up a bit and become the version of the Crusaders that we all know so well. And you know, Will Jordan is a great example of being able to just create opportunities for players around him and create for himself, absolutely, but everyone performs better when Will Jordan is on the field, and that's what the Crusaders will benefit from this week.
I think on the other side, the Highlanders, you know, Miller, who kicked that penalty goal after the full-time siren in round 1. I was disappointed with the Highlanders when they played the Reds in round 3. I just didn't think they had this is the penalty goal right at the end of the Crusaders, but I just didn't think they have any patterns of play. They looked lost, but last week they came back. But this will be a great game. This will be one of the games of the weekend. The Crusaders, as Justin mentioned, they got to start to get a move on. They're down towards the bottom of the table, and you need to make a bit of a move round 5, 6, 7, otherwise you're in trouble.
Taniela Talea will start at his first start for this season at 13 for the Highlanders, which is a big in. He's a big man. Just quickly on the Highlanders, do you think they were all distracted with the Jamie Joseph All Blacks possibility? We know he was in the running to take over that head coaching position. He lost out to Dave Rennie in the end. Do you think there was any distraction there?
Oh, there might have been a little bit. Sometimes the players get a little bit of that rubbed off on them, but I don't think so. I think, you know, after their first start, I just thought they were really disappointed against the Reds in that round 3. And Jamie Joseph really has a chance now to control and make sure his focus now is on this team to try and get them in the top 6.
Okay, so do the Highlanders go 2 from 2 against the Crusaders, or do the men from Christchurch exact some revenge for round 1?
Crusaders,
yep, especially with Will Jordan back.
He can never just say one word, can he? All right, ding-ding for the Crusaders. Last game of the weekend to preview. Blues, Moana. Blues very impressive against the Crusaders, Timmy. They're flying high. They're not flawless, but one person who seems to be flawless at the moment, Caleb Clark.
Oh, like, unbelievable player, isn't he? Like, he's got to be, I think, in my opinion, the first picked on the wing for the All Blacks in every single Test match.
Early call.
He's been in and out of the All Blacks team for a long time, and I think they want consistency. That's what the All Blacks coaching staff and selectors are looking for from Caleb Clark, is show us week in, week out. Not just one week you score 2 tries and a hat-trick and then you go missing the next 2 games. So they want consistency from Caleb Clark, and the Blues are looking for that as well.
Hat-trick in round 4. Very big man, very impressive, and a very big challenge for Moana Pasifika, Justin, this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And Moana Pasifika, you know, there is turmoil for Moana Pasifika, right? They still don't have a regular home ground. They've tried a couple of other grounds that have been denied on the back of facilities. They're desperate to have some identity and strategy. And, you know, Tana Umanga is a coach that is really pulling that squad together. From year to year, the best of them get recruited out to other teams. So it's a huge challenge for Moana Pasifika to field a competitive side. And they are competitive. They are going to give some grief to the Blues, but they just don't have the firepower and the cohesion to go up against what is, you know, 70% of those players staring back at them have played for the All Blacks and are regular All Blacks.
Moana Pasifika have got William Havili back in the number 15 jersey, and former All Black and Western Force prop Atu Moli will make his debut for the club. Who wins Blues Moana, Tim?
I go Blues.
Yeah, Blues.
He's learning.
Bang.
See how quick that was? All right, ding ding for the Blues. Geez, you've agreed on those last three there. Something's going on strange. Full moon maybe today.
Yeah.
A bit weird.
It was a bit iffy on the Brumbies over in Fijian Drua, though.
Yeah, OK. Sign up to Stan Sport via the QR code on your screen now. Don't miss a moment of the action in Super Rugby Pacific. Coming up, we're going to talk the big news this week. Zac Lomax signing with Rugby Union. Well, Zac, the question on everyone's lips is, how did signing with Rugby Australia come about?
I guess for me, I obviously grew up playing it, and it was obviously that and rugby league, and I guess the opportunity arose to switch codes, and mate, it's something that I'm super looking forward to and super pumped, and can't wait to I guess sink my teeth into, mate, and try and become the best rugby union player I can.
Do you understand why people do question that commitment to contracts, I guess, just given what we've seen the last 2 and a bit years?
Yeah, I can understand too, mate, but yeah, at the same time, there's obviously been certain scenarios that have come up, and what's been put out there is a part of the narrative too. It's been a funny situation to be a part of, but obviously I'm grateful for what the NRL have given me and the opportunities, and I want to reiterate that I'm looking forward to the future and the future of rugby union, and that's where my head's at, mate.
Looking back over the last couple of months, do you have any regrets with what's played out, or would you have done anything differently? A massive story this week in the world of sport, not just rugby union, with Zac Lomax signing with the Western Force and Rugby Australia. It's not only got the rugby union media in a tiz, but it's certainly got tongues wagging in rugby league media as well. Timmy, what's your take on the former Eel, Dragon, New South Wales Blues representative, Australian Kangaroos representative, now coming to rugby union?
Well, I think at the start he was, looking to play NRL. That disappeared, and then towards the end he went, OK, well, do I have the chance to be a dual international? I think that's probably where Zac Lomax is thinking. He's got a long way to go, because he's got to, make the Western Force team. You'd think he'd make that soon, next couple of weeks. But then you've got to be able to make the Wallaby team play in a gold jersey. So there's been some pretty ordinary carry-on, I think, from people in NRL and league commentators about
names, Tim.
Zac Lomax.
Who's people? Who are these people you mentioned?
There's been
Tim?
a lot of people that have been carrying on pork chop awards.
At rival networks.
But for someone he's just human, he's a bloke who wants to ply his trade in the game of rugby league or union, he might go back to NRL or back to rugby league later on. But I think it's a good call from Rugby Australia, Zac Lomax. He's a talented player, a goal kicker. We don't have a lot of really good goal kickers in the Wallabies at the moment. So I'll tell you what, there's a lineup of players that he has to get in front of to put on a gold jersey.
Does this upset the apple cart a little bit with current players who may be looking to re-sign, maybe wanting to... Their preference is to stay in Rugby Australia, and then they feel like maybe the game has prioritised someone else who hasn't been developed and stuck true to the game up until now?
Well, yes and no. Every agent now and every player's leaned in and said, OK, well, now you've just raised the bar. Thanks very much, Zac. Here's your Christmas card. You've given us a bit of leverage. But the leverage for Zac Lomax is that he had a market that he was in demand. He's got a history of being a professional athlete, and he has the capacity to produce some moments on a professional field that are known entities. The issue is it's a different sport. So Nick White, James Stannard, Chucky Stannard they're going to have to really work hard with him and get it implanted into him, the style of rugby that they want to play for the Western Force and that they need him to play in that system. The danger is when you see these signings for high numbers, on the back of other programs in the Rugby Australia family, seemingly standing still or moving towards greater exposure and greater resourcing, you've got to manage that message very well. You've also got to manage the message for players who are 16, 17, 18, 19, who are able to play league and union very well in that school system and or playing age group representative football and making the decision. They see these transactions happening above them. Does it send a message that I'll just go off to league for a couple of years and union will come back and I can treat the Wallabies like a club team? We've got to be careful about that. Talking about marrying Zac Lomax's signing to the Wallaby jersey and end of year tour. Let's just cool our jets a bit, get him on the field and make sure that he's got every resource around him to be the best he can. The trigger's been pulled, now we've got to get behind it.
I think it also shows that Rugby Australia has the power now and also the finances to go and attract really good players from other codes to come and play.
Do they have the
rugby union.
finances, Tim?
Yep. Yeah, they'll
Where
find it.
are they getting those from?
Third party.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
That magic third party.
Yep.
Where are these third party people landing from? Because the game's been going professionally for 30 years.
Yeah.
Where are they now? Well, are they just decided now to come into it?
They're still there. Well, Angus
they're still
Crichton,
there. Right.
Mark Nwangele-Tuase. The players are wanting to play, not just in a Rugby World
But that's
Cup.
top end though, right? So the issue is the top end. If you inject top end and it doesn't work and you try and buy success from another environment, you're done. And then you go back to the can and there's none left. So what we want to see, and I think what we're seeing, the Australian Rugby Foundation, for instance, the Type 5 program that's going through junior rugby and all those national programs, that's a good top to bottom joining. And that's how you join this thing called community and amateur level and club football and junior development pathways to the top. Then it starts to make a bit of sense.
I was just going to sit back and sip on my water just quietly while you two went at it there about that third party. No, but it is an interesting debate.
I think it's good that we're attracting the right talent, and that's what you want.
And Zac Lomax isn't the only rugby league player that's signed with Rugby Union in recent months. We know in the Rugby Union off-season, Angus Crichton committed his future after this year's NRL season to come to rugby. And he has, as opposed to Zac, who has a little bit of a junior history, a little bit, in Rugby Union, Angus has a strong connection to Rugby Union. And it felt like an inevitability that he would come to the game professionally at some point, Tim.
I think if the current Rugby Australia CEO and Peter Horne were there back when he was playing Australian schoolboys, I reckon he would have played rugby. I think we missed a beat when Angus Crichton, he played Australian schoolboys, he was captain, he had the chance to come to Rugby Union or go to Rugby League. They were a little bit different in the prices, what they were going to pay. But if Peter Horne was there and other people at Rugby Australia there, they would have got him straight away.
Why?
Missed him. Because
Peter Horne got a bank account that he leans in that no one else does?
No, that they would have put in place because I was talking to Angus when he was at school and he wanted to play Rugby Union. So he's finally got his hope.
And so someone at Rugby Australia didn't match the offer.
Yep.
Or what happens normally is 2 or 3 players, you don't get everyone.
No.
Couldn't get everyone.
No. But the captain of Australian schoolboys, they should have got him.
Is it a matter of matching the offer or is it a matter of maybe making the player feel a little more seen than...
Well, it's a value proposition. You've heard Zac Lomax talk about truly international game. You know, whether you want to spark a firework under that or not, that is an appealing thing for a player who's a professional player. And Crichton's are different. His challenge is going to be Father Time. You know, by the time he touches a rugby ball, he's well at the end of his 20s, definitely. So his challenge is going to be uploading and remembering that schoolboy rugby is very different to professional rugby. But that is a value proposition. Now, we might not be able to match the number and shoot the lights out here, but here are all the other things that introduce you to the world of rugby.
When he went to the Rabbitohs, he was guaranteed to play A-grade year 2. Waratahs said you can be 2 years in the academy, and that was what the tipping point was for Angus Crichton back then.
I'd love to dive into that, but I don't know if we've got enough time. I don't know how you can guarantee selection to someone, but I do remember that being...
You can for league because it's not a hard game to come off the bench for 2 minutes, have one hit up and then disappear. There you go. That's your debut. Bring someone on in a rugby union match is very complicated. Line-out moves, backline plays, defensive systems, kick-pass strategy. You cannot bring an 18-year-old kid off the bench for 2 minutes and think that that's a cap that's worth anything. League is very different in that regard. It's a great sport. It's gladiatorial. It's got heaps of skill. But you can introduce the players into a closed environment a lot earlier in league than you can union.
Well, however they've gone about it, Zac Lomax and Angus Crichton have ended up in rugby union.
Welcome.
Or they will end up in rugby union. Absolutely.
We are right with you.
As our good dear colleague Andrew Swain says, we'll throw our arms around them and we'll embrace them if they love the game and treat it with respect. Flanders would. But we also know that Mark Nwangele-Tuase is coming back to rugby union. A very successful stint he is still currently having, in rugby league. But you just look at the wealth of depth, I guess, in the backs that the Wallabies may have leading into that home World Cup, Tim. Mark Nwangele-Tuase, who's already played a World Cup. You got Zac Lomax coming, Angus Crichton coming. You've already got Lenny Katau, Joseph Akuso-Suoliti, Max Jorgensen, Tom Wright. It takes more than 15 players, very well, to win a World Cup. That's some great depth.
Well, it's depth that the Wallabies need. But you look at the other teams, you look at the Six Nations now, the depth that Scotland's got, that France have got, and you need that depth going into a Rugby World Cup, and they need some time. So it'd be really interesting to see what Les Kiss does at the end of season tour when they go away and play 4 Test matches. Who he takes on that tour. Does he take those type of players to try and get them into the game fairly quickly. Look at Angus Crichton or a Zac Lomax. You're not going to give away a gold jersey, but those players will need time.
I think history would suggest those players will most definitely be. That's my prediction on that end of season tour. But we will find out. Lovely that you mentioned some of those Northern Hemisphere nations for me, Timmy, because with Super Rugby Pacific Round 5 previewed, the big headlines this week and Zac Lomax spoken about, we're going to turn our attention to the Six Nations. Boy, hasn't it been a dramatic tournament thus far.
Tom Jordan coming like a steam train. Look at the movement behind them. And as it is, just in 2 minds, wow. My goodness, he knows how to hit a line. He would run through a brick wall, and he does on that occasion, dots it down. What a performance they've created. What a victory, what a moment.
What a tournament it has been, the Six Nations in 2026, catching every moment of it here on your home of rugby, Stan Sport. It is still a 3-horse race, gentlemen, to take out this title. On the final weekend of the tournament, France, Scotland, Ireland are still all a chance of winning the title. We know France are on top of the table going into the last round, just based on points difference. But there's a huge match, which is massive in the context of winning this. Ireland host Scotland, with both of those nations still a chance of winning the title, Tim.
Yeah, how good was Scotland the last 2 weekends? And to think that Gregor Townsend, as coach of Scotland, he got hammered by Sir Clive Woodward, if you remember, 4 or 5 weeks ago, and said he should be sacked and doesn't like the style of play. Then they put 50 on France.
That was after round 1 when they lost to Italy.
Yeah.
And they were playing England next. And he absolutely roasted them. And in the greatest piece of karma ever, Scotland beat England on the back of it. But they have been very impressive, Justin.
Yeah, they've been very impressive. Look, I think both these teams are definitely on a bit of an ebb and flow of performance. You know, Scotland, remembering this match and watching it, I don't think I've ever seen a team execute as well under pressure as consistently as they did against France. And those games are almost perfect storms, and they're very rare. They're Fabergé egg style rare. Atko, and we know how rare they are.
Yeah.
And they didn't score every time, but they definitely. I just don't think they can repeat that again away from home against
Scotland had 50 on them.
Yeah.
France scored 3 tries in the last 5 minutes to make the score look a bit more respectable.
Yeah, it's a massive clash because of what it means between Scotland and Ireland. Scotland's chance to do something that they've never done in the Six Nations, but also Ireland. If you think back to the start of this tournament, they got pantsed by France, I'll use rhyming slang there, in round 1, and the knives were almost out for Andy Farrell. Geez, the turnaround. I know they scraped past Italy the next week, but then they were really good against England.
Almost out. Oh, they were definitely, the knives were out and some. There was pitchfork burning, there was a couple of mobs seen through Dublin trying to find out where he's living. Farrell moved house about 4 times.
So it's a big clash for them, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, it's huge.
And at home.
Right from it, also, you know what? Battle of the anthems. How good's the anthem battle going to be?
Yeah.
Both those anthems.
Will they allow the
good.
piper to go on the roof?
Yeah.
Lansdowne Road, you reckon?
You're asking the wrong bloke, mate.
Yeah. No.
You're asking the absolute wrong bloke here.
But the hard thing is, Atko, will be whoever wins that game, for the first time ever, they'll be cheering for England to beat France the next day.
Weird, isn't it?
Unfortunately.
For 80 minutes only.
Yeah.
I'm doing it.
So who does win? Ireland, Scotland. In Ireland.
I just reckon Ireland will be so hard to beat at home. They're just such a good team at home. Although Scotland, I reckon Scotland, that was their grand final last weekend against France.
So you're tipping...
Ireland.
Yeah, sorry, I just wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ireland. I think Scotland have...
okay, so Ireland win, and they're a chance to still win the Six Nations after winning that, if your predictions are correct. I'll come back to what they need to happen, as you referenced already, because I just want to look at the next game. Wales v Italy. Now, this has no bearing on the winner of the Six Nations. That's not to say it doesn't mean something. But this is a fascinating game because Italy, as we've seen, hugely improved, beat England for the first time
Probably
ever.
their best Six Nations
Scotland,
ever. Yeah.
But Wales look like they're starting to get back to being competitive and get back to a winning side as well.
I just like the way that Italy are playing the game. They're playing with some width. They're playing up the middle as well. They got some good centres, and I just think the way that their style of game is exciting. And finally, Italy aren't easy beats anymore. Of course, the Wallabies will play them in Perth in July, so it'll be a tough match for Australia.
Yeah, I love them beating England. It was fantastic. Do they beat Wales in Wales?
Yeah, they beat Wales. Italy beat Wales because they're just used to beating Wales. That's what started. You know, Italy with the poor cousins Six Nations, right? It's see you later, bonus points. You guys shouldn't be in it. Georgia, bring them in. Now and every now and then they'd upset Wales. Now they've done it against England. How good?
Yes.
And they're going to do it against Wales.
Get on Wales. 13 plus. There you go.
But are you tipping Wales?
I'm tipping Wales, yep.
Tipping Wales.
Yep.
All right, the last match, the big one. If Ireland have beaten Scotland, as you two have predicted, but even if Scotland have beaten Ireland in that first game, they will need England, as you've referenced, Tim.
Oh.
They will need us to cheer on England against France because France are in the box seat.
Do you reckon whoever wins, they sit in the team, they wouldn't cheer England on, would they?
I reckon they would.
No chance. There'd be closet cheering.
Yeah.
No, I reckon every moment that England win in this match, if they score, there will be cheering from whoever wins out of Ireland.
Mate,
Scotland.
you are dreaming. Absolutely
no,
dreaming.
No, I'm not.
No.
To win the Six Nations means a lot to these nations.
There'll be internal cheering.
No.
Yeah.
Poker face Peterson on the outside.
They will cheer. Mark my words, and we're going to plant a camera in whoever's change room is. Okay, but France still have the chance. They're in the box seat, as of reference, to win the Six Nations for 2026, to go back to back. They host England, who are in all sorts of trouble now, in France.
And for that reason, that is why they're going to win comfortably.
France are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is Steve Borthwick in trouble?
Big trouble.
If they lose this game, is Steve Borthwick, does he lose his job?
Big trouble.
A year and a half out from the Rugby World Cup?
I say, because the public now, as we know, they are fair weather as they come over in England, and I'm going to cop it for that, but that's the truth. They now are turning on Borthwick. 4 weeks ago, they thought he was about to lead them to World Cup glory 18 months out.
Yeah. I think they were ranked second, maybe third in the world.
They got to third in the world.
He's got a strong CEO. Bill Sweeney is strong. He's dealt with adversity, his own personal adversity. He'll stare that down and he'll get a plan together. They won't resolve Borthwick.
France by 20.
France by 20. They win the Six Nations on the back of it.
France by a couple of baguette and a bottle of red afterwards.
Which is how many in points terms?
I reckon 15.
All right, there you go. France beat England and France claimed the Six Nations title for 2026. According to our experts, of course, you can catch all of the Six Nations on your home of rugby Stan Sport. Sign up via the QR code on your screen right now. Stay with us. Coming up, we're going to take a look at women's rugby and sevens. The Super Rugby women's competition draw has been announced, and of course, the first squad for the Wallaroos has been named already. They'll be in action in just a couple of weeks' time, and their interim coach, Sam Needs, spoke to Stan Sport about his first squad.
Yeah, post-World Cup, we're really excited to kind of have 10 new girls that could potentially debut over the next 5-6 weeks. Some kind of mixed up from all the different states, different positions, different key positions. We've got a couple of girls with a little bit of Super W experience, some with not much Super experience, which we're really excited. They've all kind of ripped in, kind of bought into that competitive nature that we're really trying to build with the squad, which has been really evident in the first couple of camps.
So a lot of changes for the Wallaroos. Their first squad selected since the Women's Rugby World Cup last year in the UK. That was interim coach Sam Needs chatting there, who's in charge for these first block of test matches. They'll take on Fijian in Canberra on the 27th of March and then into the Pac 4.
I didn't see Caitlin Hulse's name there.
No, so there's 10 new faces in the squad. Caitlin Hulse is being managed through some injury stuff.
Yeah, right.
And it did get tongues wagging because they named the squad and then they named a list of players who weren't available through selection because of injury, and Caitlin's name wasn't in there. But they've clarified that they're managing. She's still a young person, a young body. They're managing her through some injury stuff at the moment. But there's a lot of.
How good to see Amelia Whittaker.
Famous surname.
Niece of Chris.
Yes. Yeah, right. Yep.
Daughter of Ben. How good.
Yep. Absolutely. But there are a lot of new names. There's a lot of change. We know some established Wallaroos have moved on from the game. It just gives the next generation a chance, right, Justin?
Yeah, it's a good cycle too. Good cycle time. 27 World Cup around the corner for the men, and then 29 you're heading into probably a really good ramp. The challenge is to manage the flow of the season now and manage the game expectations. So the game for the Wallaroos, 10 tests, the most they've ever played, but it is a season that isn't necessarily linear. You've got the Pac-4 series, you've got
Super Rugby women's is later
after some test matches. So it's you've sort of the trailer's driving the car at the moment. So it's a little bit of a strange ebb and flow, and that's the challenge for Sam Needs. Is he a very young coach? Let's get that right as well. He's got some support around him with some senior coaching, Andy Friend particularly, to steer him through managing that squad. Refresh the squad, absolutely. New names in, get people who are committed. his interview talked about people who are competitive and want to live and breathe for the Wallaroos jersey. You know, that's a big ingredient for this Wallaroos group.
You mentioned, Tim, Super Rugby Women's. It's going to be later. They've announced the draw for SwiftX Super Rugby Women's 2026. It's going to start on June the 6th. 5 rounds, semi-finals and a final. Of course, the winner of SwiftX Super Rugby Women's will play the winner of Super Rugby Old Picky in New Zealand, which they did last year for the first time.
That's a great initiative. Really good initiative.
The Blues from New Zealand beat the Waratahs in that crossover. And that was in New Zealand. This year, it's going to be played in Australia. August 1st, it's slated for at Leichhardt Oval.
Leichhardt Oval.
Whoever faces
we
that.
can't take them up to Cairns or Townsville?
Just to sweat it out a little bit.
Just get a bit more heat in the Kiwis?
Obviously, in SwiftX Super Rugby Women's, all the states and Fijian Drua are chasing the Waratahs, who just continue to win titles. Timmy, can you see anyone upsetting and stopping them winning another?
Not really, no. The Waratahs got so much talent. You look at their back three, how many tries they scored last year, and you know, with Desiree Miller, and they've just got so much talent. Plus, they've got depth. What other sides don't have? They have a good 15 that's on the field, but they just need to create more depth.
You see anyone challenging that one? We know the Reds sort of looked like they might have got close last year, but then got sort of blown away in the final.
Well, we know there's a rising tide for that program across the board, a women's rugby program. You know, the depth that's coming through. We're seeing younger and younger players coming into that arena, having come out of you know, semi-professional programs that are consistently training them well and giving them the skills to prepare for 15s rugby. So that's really important. What we want to see now is just progression, you know, doubling of Super W. We want to see a genuine linear journey through that calendar of expectation, and therefore you can start to turn on the commercial aspect as well to resource this program as much as we can.
This is the year. The next 18 months is really important for women's rugby in Australia. As you mentioned, Cook, hosting 2029 Rugby World Cup. I just think the Wallaroos, you have to make the semi-final to that World Cup, home World Cup, to be viable. So for the next year and a half, 2 years, you've got to build this talent through so that 29 we're in a semi-final of a Rugby World Cup.
And it's fair to say they have been building the talent, like the Queensland Rugby Union, for instance, are doing a combine, inviting anyone who wants to give rugby a crack from any sporting background or non-sporting background. There's a little bit of crossover now between the 7s talent and the 15s talent. We've seen it going both ways. Might see more of that this year with the realignment of the tournaments. There's an absolute feast of footy on Stan Sport this weekend, not just Super Rugby Pacific, and not just the Six Nations. The World Series of Sevens continues, and for the very first time we played in the Big Apple, Timmy.
In
Sevens
New York.
in New York.
How
New York, one of your favourite places.
Why aren't we over there commentating in New York?
I don't think they could afford all the Manhattans you would order at the bars, Timmy. But we know that the women continue to get to finals and then just fall short against New Zealand. They did it again on the weekend in Vancouver. And the men are really pushing this competition. Finished 4th in Vancouver. They went down to Fiji in the bronze medal game. But this game was really in the balance between Australia and New Zealand. We know they've gotten so close this year, but just can't get past the women in a final yet, Justin.
Yeah, it's just their arch enemy, right? The nemesis. The women, you know, consistently are performing in top 3 status of the Sevens tournament, but just the New Zealand side continually show up and ruin the party. Great program. Superb athletes who are absolutely, you know, they spend 90% of their career offshore. You know, it's a program that demands a lot from those players, centralised in Sydney. So too the men's program as well. The challenge for that whole environment is to have a competition structure that can attract and sustain a stable platform heading into Olympic program windows as well.
See, those young kids in the men's have been good though. There's 4 or 5 guys there that are outstanding, and they're going to bring. They'll win a tournament, the next couple of tournaments. So maybe it might be Hong Kong coming up soon.
Yeah, they've gone close. They went down to the eventual champions, South Africa, in Vancouver. Of course, the women have beaten New Zealand once this year. They did win the title earlier in the series, but they just the last few tournaments have fallen at the last hurdle. Gentlemen, great, outstanding effort from you this week.
Get your laundry done. Mow your grass, because there's plenty of footy on this weekend,
It's going to be a hard show to top, but I tell you, next week we've got a big guest on who just might top these two. Wallabies coach Fabergé Egg. I'll ask Joe Schmidt about Fabergé Eggs when he's on Rugby Heaven next week. The current Wallabies coach, we know he's got a few more tests in charge of that team, and watch our Stan Sport crew just clamber to try and be on the panel alongside him. Enjoy your rugby this weekend. Massive round 5 of SwiftX Super Rugby Pacific, and then on Monday, Shawnee and Morgs and the team are between 2 posts. We'll unpack it all. Great to have your company. Bye for now.